Alright, in this video we are talking about chord inversions. Now we've talked about inversions before when we explored cadences, and in this video we're going to explore inversions for the more specialty chords that we talked about last week. The reason we talk about inversions is because it's frankly boring and unmusical to play everything in root position. Inversions make it so your hand doesn't have to jump all over the keyboard. For example, if we had a C chord, F chord, A, and G, that's in all root position, but it's much easier and sounds better if we play with inversions. So we could do a C chord here, F, A minor, which you only move one note to get there from the F chord, and then a G chord here. It sounds more interesting and it's easier because the hand's not jumping all around. So now your homework is going to be to fill out this sheet that you see here using the chords from your song. Now I'm going to do some chords as an example, and there'll be some of the specialty chords that we talked about last week. So let's get started with, let's do a G sus chord to start. And so you would start with just the root position chord here. So a C, or a G, a C, and a D. Now notice how I put the second, when they're a second apart like that, the second note, or the higher note, goes to the right. That avoids this issue where they're overlapping. It's just impossible to read. So see if you can make that happen as you are working on the assignment this week. So there will be root position. Now, inverting it means we just take the bottom note and we move it up to the top. And so in this inversion, we're going to come over here, and instead of that one, actually, we're going to start with the middle note. And then we have the one that's right above that, and then we just take that bottom note, the G, and put it on top. And there we have it. Now, because this is going to get really high above the staff, I'm going to move this all down an octave. So now the middle note is the D, so I'm going to move that down to here for our next inversion, the D. Then now the next note would be the G, and then what was the bottom note in our first inversion is now the top note because we moved it up the octave. Now if we invert this one more time, we come back to root position because that D comes up on top, and that's really the same as what we started with. So we're done on this one. We don't need to do anything over here. So those are the three inversions of a G sus chord. Let's move on. It gets a little more complicated for this next one. So B minor 7 is what we're going to do. So the root position here, here's our B, and we need a sharp on that. So that's a B minor chord. And we talked about seventh chords. We're going to need a ledger line up here. There we go. So seventh chords are where you add that seventh on top, and the division is right here, so it's a B minor chord, and the seventh is assumed to be a minor seventh above. And just to review, that minor seventh means it'll be a major second down to an A, and then you move that up an octave. So if that's, if you need to go back and review the video from last week when we talk about that. Now for inverting this, we're going to move it down right away because this gets too high. So the next inversion, the D will be on bottom because we're moving the B up an octave. So let's put that D down here. D, F sharp, and A. Let's add that sharp in. And now the B that was on the bottom is now on the top. Instead of putting it here, we're going to move it off to the side. And that will be the first inversion. Okay, the next one, we'll put the F sharp on the bottom. We'll still keep that off to the side, and then the D goes on top. The D doesn't go over this one, it goes over the main body. And we still need that F sharp to add in. Alright, next, the A is on bottom because the F sharp moves up. We're still going to put that off to the side. The D goes here, and then F sharp on top. So notice if there's 4 notes in the chord, we have first, second, and third inversion. All right, let's move to the next chord. This is a C minor 6. We can start that down in the bottom here with a ledger line. Let's make that a little bit wider. Okay, so there's a C. Let's make it a C minor chord first with a flat to make it minor. And then to make the 6, we add that 6th above. Notice how I put it off to the side there. All right, let's invert this. So we have the E flat on bottom, then the G, and then the A, and then we move to the C to the top with the E flat, of course. That would be first inversion. Let's do it again. The E flat goes into the top, leaving the G, the A, the C, and then add that E flat. And one more time. We have the A on the bottom, there we go. Now if you're really into theory, we could actually call this an A minor 7 flat 5. That would be an alternate name for the C minor 6th. And if you if you want to chat with me about this sometime, we can talk about why you would choose this name over this one or vice versa. All right, let's do the last one as an example here. This is just the D7. So this will be in root position to start. We find a D chord. And then that 7, if it doesn't say major 7, it's just a minor 7th, which will be a C natural up there. Let's invert it. Okay, and we need to move that bottom note up to the top, which would be here. All right, next we have A on the bottom. The D is still off to the side because of that second. And now we have an F sharp on top. And now we're going to put that A on top. If you wanted to, you could choose to move this down the octave and do the C on the bottom. Down here, C, D, F sharp, or A. So if it's getting too high, you're welcome to move down the octave. Otherwise, you could just move that and have it happen up here, which would be just as good in this case. And we still need that ledger line through and the F sharp. Okay, so here we have the first, second, and third inversions of each of those chords that have 4 notes. If it's a 3-note chord, you don't need anything over here because there's just 3 notes in the chord, and you invert it once, twice, and then you're back to root position. So once you've done this for all of the chords that you have, and you might have just 3 or 4 if it's a more basic song. Some of you might have 7 or more. So if you need extra room, then just print out the page twice and upload both files. But do go through and make all the root and inversions of your chords, and then also be playing these on the piano in the root and first, second, and third if there is inversions, so that you're very familiar with the shapes and the sounds. And let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.